The Good of Many, June 5th, 2018. Jan, the person I hired to help me organize my time so that I could be more productive in my business, struck a nerve when we last spoke. But before I tell you what she said, I have to tell you about the convo we had prior to my aha moment. I had already met with Jan a few times to tighten up my office inbox, workflow, and time schedule so that I could concentrate on taking my business to the next level. We reviewed my schedule again. She learned that I had recently made CDs for Mother's Day and asked me how much time it took to make them. I calculated it out loud, and she made the observation that I created these thoughtful pinches with my children. We came up with the total hours after I calculated the time it took from point A to point B. Even though she was quick to point out that if I didn't give out these thoughtful pinches, I would be further along in my business, she was equally empathetic that this was a family tradition. I told Jan that I am not able to cut out this CD tradition because I actually live for the incoming texts when moms receive the pinches in their mailboxes. Minutes later, she caught me in mid-sentence explaining how I had to complete a Mother's Mix 2018 CD in time to include it with the dinner that I had made for my friend Mandy. FYI, Mandy is one of the reasons why I make the CD in the first place. Jan questioned how long it took to make the meal. I answered. She multiplied my answer by 12 months and then multiplied by 7 years to calculate how many times I have been dropping off dinner to Mandy. Eureka! Jan struck gold. This is where my time goes. Once again, she began giving me solid advice on what I could do with this free time. Standing up for myself, I told Jan that in doing these thoughtful gestures for others, I'm selfishly benefiting myself. I do these things because it makes me feel better. Taking away these time culprits would crush me, and worse, it would change my identity. That's when Jan learned something about herself. She said that since she is such a task-oriented person, she doesn't think about these thoughtful gestures. It has taken me over 3 years of thoughtful pinch writing to figure out that Jan is not the only person who operates this way. I honestly had no idea when I began my quest to spread thoughtfulness that I was wired differently. My appointment with Jan had whittled away, and at this point I was a bit disappointed that we came to this conclusion. We already knew that her strength of being task-oriented is why she can charge $175 an hour, and the reason I pay that rate is because my thoughtfulness stands in the way of me making any money. Tick-tock, tick-tock, all of a sudden Jan pulls a rabbit out of the hat. There was only one thing she could say that would make me think twice about my business. Goals for Thoughtful Pinch. She said something like, if you wish to spread thoughtfulness to many people all over the country, you have to stop doing so much for a small number of people. In other words, if I could just take a break from my traditions, my routine, my thoughtful pinches, long enough to get my business off the ground, I can actually do more for the greater good of many. Aha, someone is trying to tell me something. The theme of For the Good of Many has come up 2 weeks in a row. Click here for last week's post. Speaking of someone trying to tell me something, I need to give credit where credit is due. My brother had already advised me for free that I needed to share my passion with many people and not just to the 45 awesome supporters of my blog. I just couldn't figure out how to do that. In my head, I kept replaying what Jan had said on my last appointment. She was right. My goal has always been to spread thoughtfulness. The next thing I knew, I was sitting under an umbrella by myself on Harbor Beach, coming up with a game plan. Thoughtful Pinch is expanding to include service. This is something that I didn't think was necessary until recently. If you or someone you know needs help with being thoughtful, call me. I also plan to post YouTube videos, create an easy app, and sell merch. I'm super excited and nervous. As I strive for the good of many, it will be interesting to see how the business of thoughtfulness will evolve. Pinches.